stone walls. They're pretty awesome on the tabletop, and today I'm going to show you how to make some so that you can have some on your table for you guys to hide behind. That's coming right up. Welcome back. Great to have you here. If this is your first time here, here's what's up. If you want to improve your wargaming, make your tabletop battles more epic, and give your wargaming budget more power, then just smash the subscribe button and ding the bell. That way, you won't miss anything. Now let's check out what you need to make this terrain. Okay, so here's all the stuff you're gonna need to make this terrain. First of all, we need some foam that we're gonna make our rocks for our rock wall out of. We're going to need a knife to cut the foam out with. You're going to need glue for sticking all the foam together. You're going to need the usual assortment of brushes, a big one, some small ones, some for paint, some for glue. And of course, you're going to need some paint. I've got some black and some grey here because I'm going to be making them for my Necron table. You're also going to need some sand or flock, whatever you use for basing your terrain with. And you're also going to want your 25% PVA, 75% water mix to seal it all at the end. And you're also going to want some MDF for a base. I've got a little bit here, but you're going to need more than this, just so that you can have a base for your terrain. Now let's get started. Okay, so the first step we're going to do to make this stone wall is we're going to grab our knife, chuck it out, and I'm just going to take this chunk of foam off to try to neaten my board up a little bit, like so. Cool, and now we have a piece of foam like this, and we're just going to kind of cut it into strips 10 to 15 centimeters thick, like this, and you end up with a whole bunch of bits of foam like so. Now we're going to grab some of our foam and we're just going to slice it into some sort of organic-y, randomy, sort of jaggedy shaped things. So I'm just going to cut this one in half, then I'm going to cut you like that. You just want to have a whole bunch of bits of foam like this, just in some random jaggedy shapes. And try to avoid slicing your finger off. And shapes with an odd number of sides will generally look more realistic for some reason. And when you're carving them up, you can even break it a bit to get a more natural looking face. And once you've done that, you'll be left with a pile of rocks like this, which are not rocks, they're actually bits of foam, but we're going to make them look like rocks. So we're just going to toss those to the side for a moment, and now we're going to cut the base out of our MDF board. So as usual, you just grab your knife, and I want mine to be about that sort of size. And you just score along until you cut through with a board like so, and then we're just going to bevel off the edges as usual, getting it into a nice semi-organic looking shape thing. And you want your bevel to be as shallow as possible so that when miniatures are going up it, they're actually able to stand there, as opposed to like this where they're up like that, and once you have sand and stuff on them, they'll be up more like that, and they'll easily tip over if your bevel is too steep. Cool, so once we've got our base, we are going to grab a bit of PVA, shake it up, and we're just going to put a line of PVA along the base like so. Then you can just start grabbing your rocks. Some of these are possibly even a little bit too thick, so if you find that they're a bit too thick, you just slice them down a bit, put that one there. I think the rocks look better about that sort of thickness, and you just sort of sit them on there like so. And then once you got your first layer down, you can apply your second layer. Just putting some more glue on, and grab some more rocks and put them on top. And when you put two bits that are the same shape on, make sure you put them at different angles and try to space them apart a bit so that it doesn't look like you've got two that are exactly the same on there. And if you get some small gaps like this, you can grab some of the smaller bits and just shove them in there like so, just to try to break up the shapes as best you can. I'm going to throw another layer on there just for good measure. That was way too much glue. And if you put too much glue on there, you can just grab one of your bits and you can use it to get some glue off. And if you find you have any bits that look like they should have some rock in there, you can always get some glue and chuck another rock on. And we have a nice little rock wall. At this point, I'm going to grab my glue brush, and I'm just going to go around the whole thing and use the glue brush in spots like here where there's a lot of glue that I don't want there. And you get left with something like so, that once the glue's dry, you can base coat it and it's gonna look mad. Bam! And the glue's all dried and it is nicely base coated in black for more blackness. So now we're gonna start applying some color, and I want mine to be the typical gray stuff for my Necron table because I haven't finished making my green flock yet. I haven't got it quite right. So we're gonna be making this for the Necron table. So to do this, I've changed the way that I'm doing the rocks on my table a little bit. So we're going to take the same grey that I usually use, just this one from the hardware store. We're going to get a nice amount of it onto this brush, put some of it there. Then we're going to get some black, and we're going to get a nice amount of that, similar amount I should say, on our brush. And we're just going to use that to darken that grey down a little bit, just so that we have a darker grey. Then we're going to take most of it off, like so. Not to dry brush, but so that it's not going to be too thick. And we're just going to lightly brush it over the entire thing to get the faces mostly, but we want it to be a nice thin coat. And we need to make sure that we get all of the sides of the rocks, even the undersides, because while no one's likely to ever actually look under there, I'll know and my OCD will not be happy about it. There we go. And now we have some dark grey on there. So now we're going to take just the grey and we're going to dip it in there and take most of it off. Then we do want to get this one as close to a dry brush as possible, because this brush, while that's still more or less wet, is just going to hit the edges, and because we're doing it while it's still a bit wet, it's going to give us a nice blend. So you just try to take it over and just get all the edges with this one, just to do some nice highlights. Of course, you can paint the rocks any color you want to match your table, and there you go. Now all we need to do is apply some sand to the base of it and seal it with our water and PVA, and she's all done. Okay, so as per usual, we're going to take our PVA and we're just going to put some on it just around the thing and there, like so, and then we're just going to spread it out using our glue brush. Make sure that you crack the bristles, because if you've used it for glue before, it's going to be all stiff and horrid. And you just push the glue around the entire base into all of the little crevices. Try to avoid having it go up the rocks too far. You can have it go up a little bit because it does add a nice element. But if you just make it go up on one side, then it possibly looks like the wind's always blowing in one direction. So try to get it even, because as I'm sure you know, wind changes directions and doesn't blow the same way all the time. So you can have a little bit of variance there, but try to get it so that it's not obvious that it's very, very different. And then I'm just going to go around with my finger, just wipe some of the glue off of some of the lower bits of the rock so that we don't have too much sand or flock or whatever you use to base your terrain with going up the sides. Then you want to put down something underneath your terrain to catch your excess sand, and you just take your sand or flock or whatever, crack it open, and you sprinkle it over it like so. You want to get it nice and thoroughly covered. Then, because this one does have some rocks sticking out over the lower ones, we're going to want to pick it up and just shake it in all directions so that the sand gets into all those little crevices. Then you just tap it off to get some of the excess off. And I should also mention that when you are base coating the thing, you want to make sure that whatever the undercolor for your table is, so in this case mine is black, the base is in that color so that any color from that undercoat shining through comes through the same way it would on your table, so that it looks nice and consistent and doesn't look out of place. Then you set it aside to dry, and once it's dry, we're going to just spray it down with our PVA and water, just to seal all the sand down so that when we're using it on our table, we don't make a mess. So there you go, that's how you can make yourself a really nice and easy rock wall for your gaming tables. Now, of course, this is just a very basic design that I've done here. You can spruce it up any way you like. You can add some different colors to break it up a little bit. You could add some other things from your bits box, or some ferns and reeds, some crystals, all sorts of things, just to make it look a bit more interesting and stand out from the table. And you don't have to just make them this length. You can make them longer like this, or here's another one I'm working on that's not finished, that's a bit of a crescent moon shape, which will be pretty cool for setting up defenses behind. And it's just generally a really nice and quick piece of terrain to make. You can pump out lots of them relatively quickly, and you don't even need to cut out fresh foam from your board. And if you have bits in your scrap bin, you could even use those and do some recycling so that you don't waste any foam. And you don't need to make them jagged either. You could make it so that they're nice square bricks and paint it up to look like a nice brick wall. It all works the same. If you liked this video, then please give it a thumbs up so that we know that you liked it, so that we can keep making stuff that you like. And if you have any ideas for some terrain you'd love to see me make, then just chuck it in the comment section below, and I'll see if I can make that happen for you. And as always, if you want to improve your wargaming, make your tabletop battles more epic, and give your wargaming budget more power, then just smash the crosshair and ding the bell. You'll subscribe, and I'll be able to share with you more battle reports, terrain tutorials, and strategies to make your wargaming experience more epic. And I'll see you next time.